All right, so everybody's got, okay, almost. If you look inside this bag, there's a tiny little wee itty bitty mustard seed. And then there are 2 pieces of a stone called morganite. And I put the stone in there to give the bag a little more weight, but it turns out the stone is very light, so it's still like a really light. Guess I need to put some more rocks in there for you. But I wanted you to see the mustard seed. Because you know, the mustard seed, we think of faith, right? Faith the size of a mustard seed. So we're going to be using this today, so don't stick this in your pocket yet. I want you to hold it and be thinking about this. So today we are in the last part of our rainbow series. I have been talking about grace and grit over these last couple of months because grace is really important to us. Grace is something from Spirit that's ever available. Whatever it is we could possibly need, it's there for us. We just have to be open to receiving it. We don't always think of, is this on? Yeah. Okay. We don't always think about it though. When we are in the middle of some kind of turbulence or drama or challenge in our life, we don't always think about, oh, you know, grace. Grace is there to help me move through all this. You know, we don't think about that. So I think it's time for us to be considering grace all the time. Grace is the givingness of Spirit, always there. And it's the activity of God in this world. It's the answered prayers. It's the inspiration. It's the synchronicities, the signs. It's the wonders. It's the blessings. It's the ideas. It's the inspiration. Whatever it is we happen to need, there it is, all ready for us. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a creative process we go through when we receive an inspiration. But I'm also going to talk a little bit about our excuses for not following through on it. Because we've got some good excuses that make so much sense that we don't even think it's an excuse. We just think, oh, you know, sometimes life is hard. Life's not always fair. Some people are just luckier than other people. So I'm going to talk about that. But this bag, okay, with a little tiny mustard seed in there, today I want you to pretend that this tiny little seed, this is divine inspiration. You've received a divine inspiration to do something. So only you can decide what this seed means to you. What the seed means to me is getting our new space put together out there, which you guys are going to all hear about this more in the near future. But to each person, it's going to mean something different. So we want to really empower these today. So we're thinking about this a lot. Now, we are divinely designed to respond to Spirit. We are divinely designed to respond to divine ideas, to divine inspiration, to divine direction. So we always know the next thing that we should be doing. We do occasionally, maybe often, some of us more than others, we have a really good excuse why we can't do what we want to do. But it's grace that moves us through any of our excuses. Because we got some good excuses. I know I got some good excuses. I can justify just about anything. I can justify like any divine inspiration of like how it's not the right time right now, right? So I'm glad I'm growing out of that recently. But I want to address our very first limiting belief that a lot of people have when you talk about creating a life or being a creator. What I hear so much, and I used to believe this about myself, well, I'm just not very creative. I'm not a creative person. But I'm not talking about artistry or craftsmanship. Right? I know people who are fantastic artists, but they are not a powerful creator in their own life. So they're not living a life where they thrive. They're living a life where they're struggling. So I'm talking about that kind of creation, creating a life. Now, you are a creator. Each person, everybody is a creator because each of us were designed to create. We're designed in the image and likeness of our own creator. Source energy created you as its creation and then continues to create through you. This is why you get ideas. And this is why you get inspired to do things, because the bigger forces at work are now going through your imagination and giving you these great ideas. So that is actually the impulse of spirit to keep creating through each of its creations. It can't help itself. It's there. So none of us are ever going to be able to truthfully say, well, it's not working through me. Because it is. It can't help itself because you are its creation too. So I have to just get that out of the way. We're all created to create. Now, not all of us are designed to be artisans in this life. Like, I don't know, I'm never going to be one to cut a diamond or bake rainbow cupcakes. Okay, but I can do other things, right? So we don't have to be an artisan. We are just creating our experience, that next experience. Now, this is the role of inspiration in our life. We've got this little divine seed, this little divine inspiration, and it's meant to be planted in the garden of our life. It's also going to need to be nurtured. Okay, just like a regular garden. This needs to be nurtured. Okay, so you holding your bag still? Hi, I'm so staticky today. Okay, all right. This needs to be nurtured. Now, however this seed looks for people, right? Somebody might be thinking about starting a family. Somebody may be thinking about moving. Somebody may be thinking about quitting a job or starting a new business. Somebody might be thinking about selling their house and buying a boat and traveling up and down the West Coast, right? It's all good. Like, it's all good. So I know for me what this seed looked like, back in 2008 was, I think I want to be a minister, and I don't know where that came from, right? But it just popped in my head one day. So here we've got, what happens is there's this process of creation that gets started in us. Now sometimes we've asked a question, what should I do next? Like, I wonder what it would be like to go to Egypt and see the pyramids. So sometimes we ask a question and the universe responds to us with inspiration. But sometimes we don't even ask a question. Sometimes we're minding our own business. And we look up and we just see something and it inspires us to think about something. Right? It's just like, oh, the pyramids, I wonder what that would be like to go to Egypt. Right? So it feels like it just came from nowhere. So yeah, that's how we first get our inspiration. Now what happens is that inspiration goes into our crown chakra. Now if you don't know anything about the chakras, that's okay. It's just a process, and I'm sharing what chakra it's in for those of you who are into the chakras. But this is a divine process. We've received the inspiration now. We've received the inspiration. It goes into our imagination, and it's a sacred assignment. Now, we get to choose if we're going to do it or not. We get to choose if we're going to say yes or no. The divine is not twisting our arm on anything. I mean, sometimes it will push us in a certain direction, but we still can say no to that. We still get to say no if we want. Now, if we say yes to this, it brings along programming within it for anything that we need along the way. Just like an acorn already has the divine program within it to grow into an oak tree, you don't plant that acorn and then go up to it a few days later and say, can I get you anything? Can I get you a big branch so you start looking like an oak tree? You don't say that to the acorn. The program is already within it. Now, our inspiration, the program is already within it. We don't have to know how to do anything. We just have to trust what's working through us. Excuse me. So then this inspiration goes into our imagination. That would be the third eye chakra, right? The one we love to talk about. That's why our psychic visions come from. But really, it's our imagination. It's our imagination. Now, we go into our imagination and we start thinking about it. We're imagining it. And we put ourselves into the situation and think, yeah, I could do that. I think that would be fun. Water. Remember that one time I dropped this bottle up here months ago? It was really loud. Okay. So we're in our imagination, and we're seeing ourselves in this new life. But see, right now, this vision, this is totally safe. Because nobody can judge it while it's still in our imagination. In fact, in our own imagination, we're not even judging it yet. because we're still playing around with it. It's like a fantasy. You know, if you imagine yourself traveling through space, you're not really worried about how you're going to do that because it's just a fantasy. But see, then we're getting to a point where we're going to cross a threshold where we're really going to decide if we're going to do this or not. Because now we move into the throat chakra, and that is our place of choice. Here we're going to make a choice. Now, if we make a choice to do this, we have to surrender our will to divine will, because we don't know how this is going to play out. We just don't. If you already know everything about this, it's not divine inspiration. It's just a rational idea. There's a big difference there. Okay, the acorn does not worry about how it's going to become an oak tree. It surrenders to its program. Right, so this is our moment of choice. Are we going to do this? Now, something happens. This is when our blocks and our faulty beliefs start coming up. In the moment before we decide we're going to surrender, the moment before we choose, yeah, I'm going to do this. This is where our little saboteur is going to pop into our life. Okay, in the Bible it's called the adversary. In Unity we call it the little me. Right? It's this little guy here, the little devil that sits on the shoulder and says, "Are you sure you want to do that? I don't know if you're tall enough to do that." Right? But it always has like a really good excuse. Okay, so it's going to jump in and start trying to talk us out of it. Right? As soon as we're asking that question, do I want to do this? It jumps in with all the reasons why we probably don't want to do this. Now, what's interesting about this inspiration is when we get a divine idea, we evaluate how it might change our own life personally and physically. Like, oh, how would my life be easier and more fun if I do this? Or, like, how would this help other people in my life? How could I be of service to, like, other people? We never, almost probably never, evaluate what is this going to do to support our role as a spiritual being? What is this going to do to cause us to grow? What is this going to do? What fears is this going to show us so we can face up to them and heal parts of our shadow? We never ask that, but that's the reason the little me starts chattering at us right here and right now. This happens to us because it's meant to help us grow. It's meant to help us grow. So that's why we're doing that. We're going to start calling forth the divine through us, for us, as us, to make this happen. So bringing this into our life, it's not just about an easier life, a more fun life, or helping other people. It's about an inner spiritual process that we are going through. So every time we get a new inspiration, every time we face our fear, every time we see something that needs healing and we do that work, we grow. Like we get more spiritual stamina. So now we're saying yes to it. It goes into the throat chakra. Right here, it's the choice. Am I going to plant this seed or not? Now here, one of the first fears that can come up is, I don't think I'm qualified to do this. I don't think I'm qualified to do this. I've never been much good at keeping a garden growing. So maybe this isn't about me. Maybe somebody else should get this divine idea. You know, we're thinking because we don't know all the steps to create this, that we're not capable of doing it. But see, we're given each step we need, one step at a time. Again, if this was an idea and we knew everything.
It's the big mic.
No, it's me. I'm crackling here. Okay. When we get this inspiration, this does not care if we are qualified or not. It doesn't care. We don't need to be qualified. You know, God doesn't qualify the call. God doesn't call the qualified. God qualifies the called. Because when we get this seed of inspiration, we start trusting what's in here. We're going to surrender our will to divine will. That's how this is going to happen. This little seed chose you. This little seed chose you. The minute you receive this seed, you are also receiving all of the help you could possibly need to make it happen. You just need to keep saying yes to the help, yes to the direction, and keep moving forward. Okay, so yes, one step at a time. So here we go. We say, yeah, okay, I can manage this. I can manage this. I can do this thing. I'm going to do it. So now it goes into our heart. This is where it goes into our heart. Our heart is the powerhouse for both our physical system and our energetic system and our spiritual system. Okay, this is the powerhouse. If you've ever heard the saying, when somebody just seems kind of bored or uncommitted or something, and you say, oh, you know, their heart just wasn't in it. Okay, that's a big deal. If our heart is not in something, we don't gain satisfaction in what we're doing. When our heart is in something, like really in, this world turns into our playground. This world then gives us everything we need to grow and to thrive and to call forth more good. All right, that's what this heart does right here. So what happens is we've received an idea. We can now imagine it in our life. We know we can manage it, that we have the stamina, that it can be done. So we say yes to it. It goes into our heart, and here it feels so good that we just cannot imagine not following through on it. Like, life would be horrible. If we said no to this, it'd be like, oh, might as well just give up. Right? That's how it's going to feel. So here's where our next faulty belief comes in. Okay, it's like, okay, yeah, little me. This is little me. Yeah, sure, it feels great to you, but you know who? You really ought to ask your best friend about it. Ask and see what they say. Ask see if they'll approve of it. See if they give you permission. You ought to ask the barista at Starbucks. You ought to ask the Amazon delivery guy. Stop and get their opinion. Right? What do they think about this? What are their thoughts on this? If you can get everybody to approve, then you're good to go. If we're looking for confirmation, if we're looking for approval, if we're looking for permission, this is a signal that we don't have any faith in ourselves. If we don't have faith in ourselves, being a divine being in a body, we're not going to listen to the divine guidance that comes through. We're not going to trust God's word through us. So we're not going to act. We're going to say, well, that would be pretty hard. That would be, somebody else would be doing that better than me. Okay, so here, you're holding this. Do you think somebody else knows better than you about this and how you felt about it? Does somebody else know better than God who gave you this idea? Right here, in this part of this process, what we're learning is that not every relationship in our life serves us, but also we are here to learn to trust the authority that works through us, for us, as us. We're here to trust that divine authority. We are here to learn to rely on that is working through us, for us, as us. Okay, those great forces that put us here in the first place, we're here to learn to rely on those. So inspiration, right? This seed, it is growing our internal spirit. So now it goes into the third chakra. Now, up until this point, we've been running this inspiration through internal processes, maybe talking about it a little. But now it's time to actually do something with it, physically. How do we bring it into the world? How do we bring it into the world? So we've already decided, I can see myself doing that. It feels really, really good. And I know I have what it takes to manage this. There's something working through me that will manage this. And man, it feels so good, like I have to do this. Now our idea is gathering momentum, and our life will start interacting with us. So that means like somebody is going to show up in your life, and they have a little pot, like a container.
Yeah.
A little container for your seed. Like I have a little golden sparkly container. Would you like it? I think it would be perfect for your little divine seed. Right? So that's how people start showing up in our lives. Like, I think I have something that could support this for you. All right? Like maybe you're thinking of, yeah, maybe I will travel to Egypt. And then somebody comes along and says, I inherited all this luggage that was never used. How would you like a whole bunch of luggage? And you're like, okay. Right? It's those moments when like things just show up. Okay, now things are starting to show up. Of course, here, again, our little adversary, our little me, will show up also and say, you know what, you started this, and I see what you did there, but what if you fail? People are going to like see you as a big, huge failure. You're not going to be able to show your face ever again. Your friends aren't going to want to hang around you because they're going to think that you just stink because you couldn't even manage this little thing. So that's what this little voice is going to keep saying to us. This little voice. So we just, you know what? It's like, okay, thank you for your input. Get in the back seat.
Yeah.
Buckle up. Buckle up. You're not driving my bus. My soul is driving my bus. So now it goes into the second chakra. Second chakra. This is where we go into relationships with other people. Now this can be a rough zone for us because now we've got our dream. It's right here. We have to trust others to participate with us. Now maybe somebody decided that they want to write a book on the best spots to go vacationing in the Southwest, right? So California, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, right? That I think encompasses the Southwest. They feel really excited. They've been writing, right? And so they meet somebody and they say, you know, that's a great idea, but maybe you should start small. Maybe you really ought to just write a book about traveling in Southern California because that's where you know the most. That's probably where you ought to start. Just do a little book, do a little ebook and see if people even like it. So here you've got your idea, your divine idea that you felt so good about. This is where we go in danger of betraying that idea for somebody else. Like we just totally changed this beautiful divine seed to please another person who chances are they're not going to ever eat in our garden anyway. They're not going to read our book on vacationing in the Southwest. They have no interest in getting on our boat and traveling up and down the coast. Right? But yet they have input. Are we going to listen to their input over everything we've already gone through with this little divine seed? Okay, that's called selling out. That's called selling out. Selling out our idea. All right. I know somebody recently dealing with setting boundaries. And one of her adult kids said, but I still need you to do this one thing for me. And she's like, all right. I won't set really strict boundaries with you. I'll just do it with everybody else. The kid talked him into that. I was like, it happens. It happens. Okay, now our idea. Now it's in the first chakra. It's done. Here it is. It's in the physical world, and it's a done deal. Now, do we honor this idea? Are we honoring this idea? Now, sometimes what happens is people don't accept it the way it is. I wrote a song a few months ago, and what was kind of interesting, well, first of all, what was interesting, it was a synchronicity song. I was working on a sermon, and I was going to talk a little bit about Harry Potter in it, and all of a sudden, I had to write this song because of a line from the Harry Potter movie, This Heart, right? This heart is where you live. Now, I played this song for somebody, and I'm so excited. And this song, it was divinely inspired. I wrote it in 15 minutes. Right? That's divine inspiration. I was so pleased with the song. You're going to get to hear it in a few minutes. But I just my heart was just whoosh for this song. Well, it had some good responses to people, right? Because, people are nice. And they're like, oh yeah, Deanna, I loved your song, of course. But I actually had somebody tell me it was boring. Now, the me from 10 or 15 years ago might have been so insecure over that one person that I might have just taken this little divine creation and just put it aside for a little while. Or worse, I might have taken their suggestions on making it better, which it wouldn't have made up my song anymore. All right, so here we are. Are we going to stand up for our divine inspiration now? Are we going to stand up? Or are we going to honor it? This is where we are. Here you are not, if you grew a garden and somebody comes along and says, oh, you grew a salsa garden. Well, you really should have grown some sweet potatoes. Are you going to dig your garden up and grow sweet potatoes instead? And just not honor that beautiful garden that you were so proud of? Okay, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't dig up our gardens for anybody. Okay, so here. This is how grace works in our life. This is how the graces work in our life. We've got the grace of reverence. This is to see God in all things. And in our unity principles, this is where we always start. God is all things, everything that's ever been and everything that's yet to be. There's not one thing present on this planet, in this universe, that did not first come from God. So God is all things. Then we go into the grace of devotion. God is all things, that means me. and that means my idea that I received. And that means the helpers that'll show up along the way. Right? We practice devotion. This is the grace where we see the wonders that are God. Then we have the grace of understanding. I don't know how this is going to work out. I only know that it will, because I trust that works through me, for me, as me. It will guide me. It knows what to do and how to do it, and it will tell me what to do one step at a time. The grace of fortitude. I have what it takes to do this. It chose me, and so I am a soul with stamina, and it may be scary, but I have courage. I have fortitude. I can endure. No matter what other people say about this, I can endure. The grace of counsel. And I am, after all, designed to follow divine instruction. That's what I'm designed to do. The grace of knowledge. So as I trust and act on the divine guidance, I receive the next step. I just keep doing what it tells me to do. The grace of wisdom. I am divinely designed to do all of this. It chose me because that's how it works in the universe. Inspiration chooses us. It chooses us to see, or it chooses us because it knows we have the energy to manage it. We have the fortitude to manage it. Now, that's a lot of graces. That's a lot of graces. So if we could just come down to this, I am divinely designed to do all of this. Like, affirm that with me. I am divinely designed to do all of this. It is my divine design. So, right now, I've known, like, just from like speaking with y'all, like on days between Sundays and like with other friends, that right now there is an urgency to move into this deep, deep understanding of how God works through us, how we are a divine expression of our creators. God is in our bones and in our cells, in our ideas. God is in the people that we meet, the helpers, the guides. God is in all things. And we are here right now because we get to live our sacred assignment. We don't have to. We get to live our sacred assignment. And when we take this and turn it into our next experience, we are living a life of purpose, and we are living as an example. Okay, as an example. Now, I was thinking, interesting, this is another synchronicity. I was thinking about really what is the power of an example in somebody's life, right? And Linda sends me this email just full of all this, like, wow, kind of synchronicity stuff. And I call her, and we start talking about the 100 Monkeys story. Okay, and so if you don't know the 100 Monkeys story, there's the saying that, like when 100 monkeys started doing this thing, that all of a sudden all the monkeys started doing this thing. And metaphysically, how people like to interpret it is, once a certain percentage of people are living a spiritual life, then all of a sudden it spreads like a wave around the planet. But I did a little dive into this story, and it's really a little different than what I was thinking all these years. What happened was in the 1950s, there was an island in the South Pacific, a string of islands in the South Pacific. And there were some Japanese scientists there. And they're monkeys living on all these little islands. Well, the Japanese scientists started throwing sweet potatoes out to the monkeys. Well, one day, this one monkey, and I think they said her name was IMO. She takes her sweet potato and she dunks it in the water and gets the salt off of it. And pretty soon all the monkeys on this island are dunking their sweet potato in the water to get all the sand off of it. Sand. Did I say salt off of it? No, sand. Get the sand off of it. All the potatoes, they were so sandy, so they washed it in the water. Maybe the salt water gave it a yummy taste too. Who knows? Now, in the story goes that all of a sudden all the monkeys on the islands were washing their potatoes, but that's not actually what happened. One monkey swam to the next island and lived there for 4 years and taught all the monkeys there how to wash their potatoes. This is the power of being an example. We're not waiting and hoping for suddenly this wave of spirituality to sweep across the planet. We're more involved in it than that. We are participating with the wave by walking the walk, by doing all that. If you could do one thing that would change the world right now, if you could do one thing and it wouldn't cost you a penny, would you do it?
Yes.
Like, yeah, you would. I still see some faces out there. Okay, well, what will it cost me? This seed, okay, it won't cost you a penny, but it does come at a price. It comes at a price. We have to be willing to let go of any belief that would cause us to not honor this seed, this precious seed that chose us. We have to be willing to trust and act on divine instruction as it guides us on the care and nurturing of this seed. We have to be willing to trust this seed chose you for a reason. We have to be willing to trust our hearts. Okay, this heart right here, this heart, touch your heart. This heart knows the truth of you. Say that with me. My heart knows the truth of me. My heart knows the truth of me. To do the work of God in this world, we must know ourselves. We must know ourselves. And we have to know this. I am divinely designed to do all this. Let's say that again. I am divinely designed to do all of this. All right, you are created to create. There is no doubt about that. And there is no excuse for not creating in your life. All creation that brings us a new experience in our life, it's all good, big or small. Whether you decide, I want to study Rumi, or whether you want to go traveling to the Antarctic and studying, frozen things. Right, whatever you want to do, okay? But to do the work of God in this world, we have to remember that we are divinely designed to do all of this stuff. You are created to create. You are also created to be the example. You're created to be the example. And that's how we create heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are the activity of spirit in a body. You are the heart and hands of God in this world. You are divinely designed to do all of this stuff. You are a soul designed for the growth and the goodness, calling it forth into your life. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is.
So it is.